What is the most fricked up thing you saw/did at school? When I was in 8th grade, a girl was wheeled out of school and into an ambulance around lunchtime. As she wheeled past kids watching what was happening, kids began making fun of her and mocking her. She was unconscious. She ended up dying later that night. I didn't know her, but I remember crying when I got home because kids were just so mean and felt so bad for her. Jesus Christ, I sometimes forget how brutal and thoughtless middle schoolers are because I'm so far removed from it now. That's awful. It's tough to point to grade school kids and blame them for things like this. They are sheltered from the crueler aspects of the world and have yet to learn empathy. Acting callously at that age is no more a signifier of future cruelty than the bizarre body discovery actions of some other kids are a signifier of future sexual predation. In high school, there was a kid who was a real bully. In English class, another kid was sitting behind him and had his feet up on the back of the bully's chair. The bully reached behind with his pencil and stabs the kid in the leg. The kid casually puts his feet on the ground and starts to take off his jacket. Next thing you know, he has the jacket around the bully's neck and it pulling it back and forth. The zipper in the jacket was cutting the crap out of the bully's neck. Blood was spraying everywhere. 2 other kids grab the one with the jacket and get it away from him. He's crying, the bully is crying and bleeding everywhere. Kids are screaming and the teacher runs out of the room. Seconds later, the teacher comes back with the principal and another teacher. 2 of them take the bully out of the classroom while the principal takes the jacket kid. I never saw the jacket kid in school again, but the bully came back to school about a week later with a crap ton of stitches on his neck. People called him Frankenstein from then on. Well, if he wasn't such a Frankenpeen, none of this would have happened. If you said that in high school, that bully would have been scarred for life. This is more funny than fricked up, but in my high school programming class there was a female substitute teacher who was talking about the video games she plays, and this one kid went up to her and said, "You just turned my floppy disk into a hard drive." She did not respond well. That's nothing. We had a lot of fun messing with subs in one of my classes. At one point, one of our clowns changed the desktop background to a group of girls with massive boobs and called the sub over to ask if she thought they were real. Poor teacher. A more notable example was our class being reamed out by our teacher for treating a guest from the Red Cross terribly by asking stupid and inappropriate questions. We were supposed to have a presenter in from a lesbian advocacy group or something, but our teacher was yelling about how he cancelled it because he was afraid we'd treat them like zoo animals. Dude yells out from the back, "AWW, but I wanted to feed the lesbians." The guy facepalmed so hard. Epic class. My favorite one, courtesy of my brother. His school has a few special needs students and each gets an aid and an iPad, but that school is atrocious and I digress. Well, one of the students with an aid shares a history class with my brother, and she consistently interrupts the class with anecdotes and the like. In their curriculum, they are currently learning about the Civil War when Tad Wrangler pipes up about her great-grandfather having fought and goes on. So my brother and his friend joked she has hardcore Nam flashbacks, and sadly, the teacher caught wind. So now every time she's in the class and starts talking, one of them starts humming Fortunate Son by CCR, which has led to some very disapproving looks. After telling me this story, I gave him a new idea. The student aide did it earlier this week, and when my brother's friend hummed, he got caught. He stood up and yelled, "It ain't me. It ain't me. I ain't no senator's son." He got kicked out, but believes it was totally worth it. My brother used to take a welding class in high school. He wanted to create a temporary tattoo by lightly burning himself. He got one of the other students to do it, but they let it sit on his skin too long. As soon as he lifted the iron, my brother knew that crap was permanent. What did he burn into his arm? The anarchy symbol. Knowing immediately that was a bad idea, he took a square piece of metal and burned that over the symbol. He now has a very grotesque, house-shaped scar on his arm. You must have a picture of it somewhere. I don't actually. I should get one. In 7th grade we were having our lunch break outside as usual. I find this big ass bull snake and start playing with it, showing it to my friends and whatnot. Every lunch break this one retarded kid in a wheelchair would sit in the corner and watch everyone. I told my friends, "Hey guys, watch this." I was a mean child. So I went up to him and showed him the snake. He was so intrigued by this snake he grabbed it out of my hands hard. He was squeezing it hard and all of a sudden the snake bites him in the face. He started wailing when blood started pouring down from his cheek. He got hit by a snake and decided to go wailing in a wheelchair? What a trooper. Call me Ishmael. There was a guy at my high school who had some sort of mental disability. I'm not sure what it was, but he was always with the special needs kids around school. He really liked attention, so he'd walk up to random people and offer two things. He'd either punch himself in the nuts repeatedly or do the splits in the middle of the hallway in exchange for a few dollars. Another time, same guy, I'm in the washroom taking a piss and he comes up behind me with a broken pen and says, "What would you do if I just stabbed you with this?" Which I calmly talked him out of. He was also notorious for screaming random things while he took craps at school. Oh my god, my asshole was a crowd favorite. Nice guy though. Got him. Sounds like a psycho from Borderlands. I watched a classmate die from anaphylaxis, peanut allergy, while at school one morning. The cafeteria used peanut oil in the deep fryers, and she was eating a little box of hash browns. About 3 hash browns in, her airways went from open to closed in about a minute, maybe less. No EpiPen, no office help in time, ambulance arrived too late. Crappy day. Thing is, peanut oil generally doesn't cause allergic reactions in people with peanut allergies, since the extracted oil from the peanuts shouldn't contain the peanut proteins, which is what people are actually allergic to in peanuts. Meaning, the school got really cheap and crappy quality peanut oil that had impurities, and someone died because they cheaped out on their oil. I had an asthma attack from racetrack popcorn. Turns out it had a crapload of peanut oil, so I don't eat it there anymore. Other popcorn doesn't affect me, strangely. Last day of senior year in high school I decided that I would sneak in the night before and plant alarm clocks in the ceilings as a senior prank. So the day before I unlocked a window that was hidden behind a curtain so no custodian would unlock it. I snuck in that night at around 3:30 am to make sure no faculty was in the building. As I'm placing the first clock in the ceiling I hear a loud humming noise heading down the hall perpendicular to the one I was in. As the noise passed the corner I saw it was the large seated vacuum cleaner, and riding was one of the custodians, and riding him was one of the early morning breakfast cooks. Unfortunately she noticed me, and as they separated and were getting themselves together I ran out the way I came in, and into the night I fled. When in the heck did they start making rideable vacuums? Might be one of the floor washers that look like mini Zambonas. It wasn't at school, but a girl I went to school with had her friends over at her house, across the road from mine. She crapped in a bucket and smeared it on our neighbor's car. A boy I went to school with ate a live worm in front of everyone. We were 16. In year 7 a girl was kegged in an English lesson. Someone pulled down her trousers. This was in a class of roughly 30 kids, and that teacher was arrested 4 years later for wanking over webcam to teenage girls. The 14-year-old girl he was wanking over turned out to be 2 police officers. The cops' disguises must be getting good. A special needs kid stabbing someone with a pencil, punching another person in the face, and then kicking another person in the balls. All in the same lunch period. About a couple weeks after that he got caught fapping in the library. He didn't stop until he finished. That same year he brought a toy gun to school, and the resource officer tackled him to the ground and the kid kept saying, "You can't do this, I'm a god." Freshman year was entertaining. Why wasn't he taken out of school? In high school, I was sitting in English class, last hour of the day. Well, I sat pretty much in the direct center of the room. So I was staring up at the clock waiting for it to ring, and I caught a couple kids in my peripherals looking at each other. Curious, I shifted my eyes down to look at them, and it was 2 popular freshmen in the front row, a boy and a girl. I looked at the boy first, and noticed that his peen was hard in his pants, kinda shifted so it was on the top of his thigh. A perfect outline, and he was touching it. Horrified, I looked at the girl hoping that she was as surprised as I was. Nope, she was looking him right in the eyes and smiling. Remember that these kids are in the very front of the classroom. So I tried to keep my eyes on the clock, but it was so difficult knowing that this kid was putting on a show for his lady friend in front of our whole 7th hour class. So messed up. Talk about an exhibitionism kink. Look at the clock, not the cock. Directions unclear. I stuck on cock.